let's start scrapbooking. I am going to go ahead, I'm going to copy that image I saw up here, the one that reminded me of the moray eel. If I could find it again, this is always my issue. See an image I like, forget to copy it. Actually, there's something I really like about this one. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to bounce over into Photoshop. And I'm going to create, let's go with 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. Nice giant document. And let's go ahead and change that background because this white is horrible to look at. I don't care if you're looking at it in Photoshop or you're looking at it in ZBrush. It's an eye burner. And it also distracts and detracts from the images that you're pasting in. So let's go with something close to a neutral gray and fill that in. Oh, Manuel, I just saw your comment. Overflow is actually very close to yours. Hectic, if I may say so, but that's one thing. I kind of get a problem with it at the end. Too many options in research, which ends up clouding my judgment. You know, it's true. I mean, honestly, when you are going through a process like this, it's very easy to get lost in over-researching. You know, I like to think you have to, the images are there to set you on a path, right? And you have to let your creativity flow along that path, right? So you don't want to over-prepare. You want to leave room for spontaneous moments to happen where you have an epiphany, you know, where it's like, this creature would look great with 6 eyes, you know, and that finishes off my design and balances it out. You don't want to over prepare. It's like you don't want to overstudy for a test sometimes, right? Because you get to the test and your brain is just clogged and you're not thinking freely. You know, in this process, for me, I try to go into a moment of extreme focus of I'm shutting everything out. You know, yeah, oversetting for a test. That's totally what it's like. So even when I'm working at home and my wife will come to me and I'm sculpting, or I'm doing, you know, scrapbooking, I don't hear her because I've just, over time, I can turn that off and on, and when I'm in it, it's just, I'm there. And you got to try and pull yourself into the zone. You know, it's like you put horse blinders on, and the only thing that exists is what you're working on. But let me create this scrapbook. So paste. Let's bounce back over here. That other guy was just below this. There he is. Let's copy that image and paste it in. And let's have a look and see if there's anything else. That is actually pretty damn stunning. It's going to take forever to load because it's huge, but I like that it's huge because this is something we might be able to use with Spotlight. No worries, Manuel. Like I said, I want this to be a conversation. He's apologizing for interrupting. You're not interrupting at all. I just have to watch myself because I have a tendency to become Mr. Tangent. I'll go on these long diatribes about whatever. So the reason why I love giant images like this is because they can be great for texturing if they aren't super grainy. This one is a little grainy, but I still might be able to pull from it. At least I can really dig in and see what these skin folds look like and pull from that. Sometimes it's very difficult, you know, depending on your source creature, finding detail, especially the more exotic the creature is, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find reference. So let's copy this guy. And, you know, just like I was saying, you don't want to overstudy. You don't want to overcram yourself with information. I think somewhere between 10 to 20 images really does it. But you really want some solid images, some stuff that you're like, it's not just flat, it's not dead, it's not like, okay, this is a horrible photograph, if there's not something to it that really grabs your eye. It has to be photos that inspire you, you know. All right, so I'm going to try and find two more really fast here, and then I will move forward. So what are you guys thinking? Any ideas boiling in your brains for what you might want to do this week? Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. I love that. No? No ideas? No, no, no. All right, well, if you have an idea for what you want to do, throw it out there. We could talk about it. You know, stuff like this, finding shots like this is an invaluable reference because you can see exactly what the skin is doing. You can tell the thickness from it. You can see the padding, especially on the tips of the fingers. I mean, it's, you know, that sort of stuff that's a unique shot. Very fortunate to have found that. And is this a belly shot? Or is it a back shot? That looks like a belly shot. Awesome. I will take that. Yes, thank you. And then let's go ahead and jump over to the moray eel. All right. I definitely want to pull color from the moray eel. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful coloring. Although I don't want to get too convoluted. I don't want to distract from the silhouette of my character. And whatever I end up doing on the surface and the texture, I want it to complement my silhouette. So while I am inspired by these photographs of eels, zebra moray eel, absolutely stunning. Let's see if there's something. Let's go to large. So even though I'm inspired by the texture of these guys and they're beautiful creatures, I think that I'm also a little concerned because I know that I can go off into crazy tangents, and sometimes I find something so cool in a creature and it just doesn't work, and I'm trying to make it work, and I'm so reticent to give it up. You know, it takes me a while. So it's like, you know, it's like high school relationship. You know, the relationship is going bad. You don't want to break up, you know, but you know you're going to break up. That's kind of how I feel about it. So let's see. I'm just going to grab a couple here to start with. I don't think I need a whole lot. There's a few things that I really like in the moray eel that I know I want to pull from. This expresses it really, really nicely. And I think this is sort of where I see the tie-in with the salamander as well as the tail. So I want to get one tail shot before I move on. Well, if I want a tail, why don't I search tail? I was thinking something cool, similar to giant salamander, maybe looking at old amphibians, early tetrapods like, you know, I'm so bad with pronouncing dinosaur names, so forgive me, Simon. Ichthyostega, and I'm going to totally butcher this, and Acanthostega. Maybe a head like Diplodocus, manta ray, with kind of different insect-like centipede spider mandibles around the mouth instead. Just thought that could be an interesting idea contrast. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd maybe reduce that to Diplodocus, is that, or, oh, Diplocaulus, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Simon, I would probably narrow that vision down to what you definitely want to express, because you got a lot going on in there. I would, yeah, definitely take that road down and take a look at and feel it out. But I'd say try and keep it at 2-3 ideas in one creature, 3 max. I think it beyond that, it becomes unrelatable. You know, when you're designing, I like to look at design as it's no different than writing a poem, right, or writing a book, right? So when you're writing a book, you're writing a poem, you're writing a letter, you're writing anything, you're communicating in a language that someone else understands. Right? So if the creature goes so far beyond, I know this is against the grain of a lot of design ethics and philosophies that I've heard as of late, but I mean, it's, you know, I think that you have to have something that is relatable in the creatures that you create, something that communicates or that speaks, that someone can latch onto. If it's so alien and it's so foreign and it's so bizarre, that only gets you so far. That's, you know, sort of like a shock value thing. Oh my God, that creature's so weird. But then after that initial shock, you're sort of like, okay, well, it's just kind of a mess of limbs and flesh, and I don't really know what it all means. It's not telling me a story. So that's why I kind of keep to the like two to three ideas in one creature. All right, so tail. That's where I was. Did that help you out, Simon? And no problem, man. You're very, very welcome. All right, I'm totally noodling in here, looking for a perfect image. And when I do this, I just grab the next one that pops up. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. That's all I really need to see is that silhouette. I really like that. All right, so now that I have my images in here, I'm quickly going to arrange them. And I sort of arrange them in point of inspiration. I'll start by grouping them just into the two creatures. You know, and honestly, like, even though there's two creatures, right? There's a third that's existing somewhere that's unidentified in the back of my brain that is wholly my own, right? Something that I can inject into it. And this is what we were talking about earlier about overstudying for a test. We want to leave room for your imagination to flourish, for your creativity. You know, it's like I always think of this in comparison to like 1980s horror movies. Or better yet, 1960s, 1970s horror movies, right? You never see the whole monster. You only see a hand, an eye. And actually, in the 80s, you started seeing the full monster. But there was always that hint of the monster. And your imagination filled in the rest. And what you imagined was way more horrifying than what the full monster was. And always in like horror movies from the 60s and 70s or monster movies from the 60s and 70s, a lot of times, I was just disappointed when I saw the full monster. I was like, oh, that wasn't anywhere near as awesome as I thought it was going to be. My imagination was way better. So you gotta trust in your imagination a little bit.